Welcome, welcome. Welcome back to Bantha Fodder. We are here. We are not queer. And you don't have to get used to anything. In fact, it's good if you don't get used to things. That way you're always growing and always moving forward. What I want to talk about today is filters. So I think that's the title of the show for this week. So the reason that this came up was I made a video recently called Peter Pan Syndrome. I don't need to talk again about what Peter Pan Syndrome is. You can watch that video. Basically, people who get stuck in a place where they are just wanting to live the youthful life forever and not really wanting to progress and take on any more responsibilities, like have a more, I guess, challenging career or a family life or that sort of thing. You can watch that video for my thoughts on that. I tried not to be super judgmental because I understand it and I know where people have been from. And a big reason that that happens is external things that sort of set up a condition where there's not necessarily a whole lot of benefit to trying to get these things, at least for men. I think also for women, but to a lesser extent, I think it's different for women. Like they have Wendy syndrome. They're kind of waiting for someone to whisk them away and it just never happens. Where for men, Peter Pan syndrome is, well, I'm never going to grow up. I'm going to keep playing video games forever. But that gets old. So that Peter Pan thing might work when you're 27, but when you're like 37, it's like, it starts to become lonely because pretty much everybody else has moved on to different modes of their life. And you figure out that the gaming industry is not as fun in 2025 as it was in 2010. Not nearly as fun. Most media that you were excited about consuming in 2010 now sucks. So that's another thing that maybe I didn't go deep into on that video, but things have gotten worse, right? If you are choosing to just live a life of entertainment and leisure, the leisure is not as good as it used to be. Plus the second order effect that if enough people do that, then society collapses. So that's also bad, right? So yeah, everybody has their own ownership of their body. You can decide what you want to do. But if enough people are like, well, I choose to not play the game, then society collapses and then no one gets to be Peter Pan anymore. People have to figure out how to boil tree bark to get rid of headaches and, how to process deer in order to eat. You fall backwards into the Stone Age if enough people are Peter Pan. And trust me, because I experienced some of this, like I don't have like a negative judgment, like you're bad for being Peter Pan. It's like, I think people need to move beyond that for deeper and more fulfilling purposes, whether that's kids or not, or a career or not, doing something with your life usually is going to make a big difference. So today I want to talk about filters, and specifically filters when it comes to dating. Because I encounter a lot of men in particular, but believe it or not, women, who are like, I can't find a partner, basically. I can't find a person that wants to have a family, that wants to do the things that I care about. It's a really common experience now, and it might have been common throughout history. I feel like it might have been less common throughout history because people had marriages and stuff more arranged, I guess. So like things happen more automatically than maybe they do now, where people have lots of options. And so when people have lots of options, you have to use filters to reduce those options to find what you want. Filters are really critical. All a filter does is it takes a large quantity of a thing and holds a certain amount of it back, usually most of it, and allows through a smaller quantity that's more refined towards what you want. So a coffee filter doesn't let the coffee grounds into your coffee. It lets the brewed liquid into your coffee. So that's a filter. And we use filters for everything. When you search on the internet, you're applying a filter to the internet. The internet has a trillion different websites and you want 10 of those. So think about how good of a filter search engines really have to be effective. It's phenomenal that they work at all when you think about it. Amazon, there's a billion products on Amazon. You want one of those. You want to find one of those products, like the right product. I want to find that one right product. Out of a billion, I have to figure out how to apply filters. You go over there and you apply filters. So for dating, what are we doing with dating? Well, you have to think of the process between I am single to I am married with children is a series of filters where people get eliminated. And for a lot of these filters, it's women that do the elimination, but at different points, men will often break up with the girl, right? So they apply a filter to get rid of the candidates or whatever you want to call it for that life. So the first filter for men and for women, but men are less acutely aware of it, and they need to be, is the attraction filter. So I'm going to use this. I'll bounce off probably into some other things talking about filters too, but let's just talk about dating, because I realize that there's a lot of people who maybe don't get real talk when it comes to dating and dating with a purpose, let's say. Take all this with a grain of salt, because I'm not in the market. I'm married with children. So I've gotten, I guess, what I want out of the market. I'm not the most experienced guy. I'm not a pickup artist who can help you to maximize step 1 and 2, but that's step 1 is attraction. And I think it's so much more important if you're going to be dealing with online dating at all, you have to looks max. If you're not looks maxing, then you're sunk basically, because you have to get through that first filter. The first filter is he or she attractive? Men do it too. It's just their filter is bigger at the onset, because men are proposing, women are disposing. You maybe have heard that before. So men are trying to get female attention, and then they start applying filters. They start vetting, what we would call vetting. They find the attention of a woman and they start vetting her to see what category they want to put that woman into. Is this a woman I want to stay with long term? Is this someone I'm trying to have a one night stand with? That's what men do. Women, however, are applying kind of stricter filters towards the beginning when it comes to online dating, because you've maybe seen that graph where it shows how women rate men on online dating, and they rate almost all men as unattractive, and men are rating women, and it's like a nice gentle sort of, it's a nice gentle curve. It's a nice bell curve of how they rate women. So men are applying a looks filter, but that looks filter tends to be pretty open and pretty realistic, hopefully about what they're trying to get, and as far as the attractiveness level of a partner. And for a lot of men that I talk to, young men that I talk to that are I want to be married, their filter for the attraction level, they don't even talk about it, because it's secondary in their mind, but it really is the first thing that happens. Even though they're thinking 3 steps further, they're probably eliminating women who are grotesquely obese or deformed or something, right? If you want to know how, I hate doing numbers, right? She's a 10 and he's a 5 and stuff like that, but it's really helpful to think of those things, I think, to figure out how those filters are working. So, a 10 is a perfect woman, and that's going to be perfect in your eyes. So it's a 9 plus your perfect view of what a woman should look like. That's a 10. And by the time you get down to 4 or 5, you're talking they're overweight. 4, they're obese. 3, they're morbidly obese. Pretty much anything under 4 is going to be undateable for most men. That's the not people zone. Maybe you've seen the home math videos of the ghost. For men, the not people zone for women is going to be really intensely unattractive. And then otherwise, it's a negotiation. That's the other thing. Everything's a negotiation. So first filter is attractiveness. How can you make yourself more attractive? You could spend hours talking about this, but chances are you need to lose weight. So if I were single again, if suddenly I were single and I wanted to attract a mate, I know that my number one priority would be how I look. Okay, I would probably shave the beard because it's gray. I would probably dye my hair because it's gray, and I would cut it in a way that looks attractive. I haven't cut my hair in several years. My wife likes my hair long, so that's not a big deal. But if I'm looking to attract the most women, my wife would have dated me. In fact, she did date me with shorter hair. She did like me when I had shorter hair. She just likes longer hair. So even though it's a special thing that she likes with me, she still would have dated me with short hair. So you have to think that shorter hair, or maybe it doesn't have to be collar length. Let's say collar length. I'd cut it a little shorter to sort of maximize the number of people that are going to let you through that first filter, right? And then I would be trying to get shredded. Okay, I'm not shredded right now. I'm pretty chubby. So I'd probably try to lose 15 to 20 pounds, get back under 200. And, whatever you do to get there is fine as far as I'm concerned, because if you're thinking about your future, like, and it's people are always debating about, should I take GLP-1s or should I do steroids or something like that? I'm not going to tell you yes or no. I'm telling you what I would do. And the answer is I would do them if I felt like I needed that help to get back down to a low body fat percentage. I don't think I would need that help if I were completely focused on it, because I've been there and I've done that, and I've done that focus, and I've been very, very attractive. And if you haven't been on the other side of that filter, you may not realize just how much you're missing out on by being unattractive as a man. It's like a night and day. I went from being fat to being like shredded, and it was like, I can't even describe it. It's like you walk out and suddenly there's people look at you. Everybody's looking at you all the time. You're like, why is everyone making eye contact with me? Because you look good. People like to look at other people who look good, even men, but like women especially. And you just got to think about it. It's a numbers game. This is probably the best advice that I've gotten from pickup artists years ago, is like, it's a numbers game. A pickup artist will go to a club and strike out 50 times. Most men don't want to deal with 50 women rejecting them, but pickup artists will do it. Why? Because it's a numbers game. You're gonna cycle through until you get to that one that like you're able to do all of your steps for. You're able to get past step 1, which is attraction. You're able to get past step 2, which is personality. So that's filter number 2 is your personality, your game. And then you're able to close the deal, so to speak. So it's a numbers game. And so imagine if you're a guy and you're like, I can't find a woman who wants kids. And it's like, and you go on like 2 dates a year. Imagine if you went on 100 dates a year. Are you more or less likely to find that woman? Even if 98% of the women that you date are not going to be someone that you want to have kids with, you're still going to come out way ahead than if you're having 2 dates and they both fail. Right, you're probably going to find 1 or 2 women in that giant kind of group of women that you're able to have a date with that are you want to not filter them out. You want to take it to the next level, right? So for a man, your first filter is still attraction, but the second filter for men or women is personality. It's how those people make you feel. So it's your game. So if you don't have the attractiveness down, you're not going to get to the game. So there's lots of people who've written tons of articles on like how to have an initial conversation with a woman. I think it's okay to use a script. Script worked really well for me when I was single, and it's fine. Just have a script. The woman is not, if you're married years later, it's like, well, I ran this script so that I could get in enough conversation with you that I felt comfortable. She'd be like, oh, well, she wouldn't care. Like, you weren't naturally charming and funny when I first met you. It's like, you had to get to know me to know if I was naturally charming. So the next step is to get the woman to know you and for you to get to know that woman. And then you start applying the filter of like, is this a person that I like? Do I feel something talking to them? Are they interesting enough? Do I like the way their voice sounds? Do I like the way they laugh? Do we share a sense of humor? Do we, have some things in common? That's like step number 2. And then you can get to the other filters, which are going to be, do we have the same goals? Do we have the same values? A lot of times you're picking for values before you're putting the cart before the horse. We'll just put it that way. You're on filter number 3 and you're like, why can't I find anyone that gets through filter number 3? It's like you haven't put enough people through filters 1 and 2 yet. You have to put as many people as you can through the first 2 filters till there's someone who gets through filter 3, and then you start committing your time and resources and your energy, your love, your emotions into that person. Then you start really vetting them. The next filter would actually be like, it's looks. Second is really personality. Third at that point is going to be things like values and goals. Are we heading in the same place in life? Is this going to be a compatible relationship? And at that point, a relationship really moves into like an exclusivity area, a public area. And then you start the vetting process, which is, again, more filters. So that'd be step 4. Like, you introduce that person to your parents. You get to know their parents. And then you start talking about your overall goals are aligned. Are we going to make this a marriage with children or no children? Maybe you don't want kids, right? So again, maybe you're finding someone that's like, I don't want to have kids. Kids are off the table for me for whatever reason that you have going on. And you're applying that filter to a partner, but you just want like a permanent partner. And there's people out there. It's up to you to decide what you want in your life, right? You are the commander. You're the master and commander of your life. So you get to make those decisions. So the biggest help that I can make when you're thinking about this is thinking about filters. You got to get through that first filter. How are you going to get through that first filter? Well, you have to look really good. And I'm saying the biggest part of looking good is having low body fat. It's just reality. You can throw the messenger in the pot and boil them alive if you want for saying that. Nobody's going to get to know your special personality until they first decide that you're cute. You got to deal with it. So how do you deal with it? Make your body as good as possible. For a man, be as fit as possible. There's other things too. I'm like, can you see my teeth? I've had many people tell me I have a great smile. These teeth are fake. So these are veneers. And they're veneers because my upper teeth were kind of destroyed by a bad orthodontics job when I was a teenager and young adult. And so to fix them, I put veneers on. And I paid a lot of money for those veneers. Actually, my mom paid most of the money. I'll be honest, right? It was like a gift from my mom because she felt guilty about like the braces, like destroying my teeth from when I was a teenager. But I can say other than like losing weight, the biggest thing that made the biggest impact was my teeth. I have had so many people tell me I have a great smile. My wife tells me I have a great smile. I've had other women before I dated her tell me, wow, you had just had such a great smile. Well, that's a damn good investment. Is like cosmetic dentistry is one of the best investments. And the best thing is no one really seems to object to the fact that you made your teeth look better. If you fix your teeth, people are just okay with it. Versus like getting a boob job or something, or like having a facelift. People, they start to get like, oh, you did cosmetic surgery. You got Botox, you got fillers or something, right? I'm not against those things necessarily if they're fixing an insecurity or helping you, like I said, to get past that first filter. We always look at the people who have crazy amounts of plastic surgery as like, that's the example of why you shouldn't have plastic surgery. Well, yes and no. The people who've had good plastic surgery, it's the paradox of the toupee. You say, I've never seen a good toupee. Yes, you have never seen a good toupee because the good toupee is invisible. So, if your work is done really well, you probably look like Tom Cruise, who's probably had work done. But he just looks good. So you don't really think about it. Versus Madonna now, who's had work done, but it doesn't quite look right. She looks weird. So, anyway, I'm not judging anyone who gets plastic surgery. I think it's actually fine depending on what you need to have done. Same thing with nose jobs. You see those TikToks of like the girl who has the big, like, the big eagle nose, and she gets a nose job and then her nose is like perfect. People are like, this is criminal. Why are men upset about it? Well, they're upset about it because her genetics are for like the weird nose and not the perfect nose that she paid money for. But will she be able to get the attention of higher quality men with that better nose? Hell yes. So the investment pays off. You're getting through that first filter. That's the whole point. You're going to maximize the number of quality people. You're going to raise the quality of people that you're able to get through their first filter. That's going to help you out. So yes, maximize your looks. Dye your hair, right? If I were single, I would not be having this gray beard. I'd have a black beard and black hair. Okay, and then I would be shredded. I'm not doing too bad, but like I don't have visible abs or anything right now. I can definitely like pinch a big roll of fat on my sides right now. So I would get rid of that. But when I'm married, I'm a little bit more secure in my marriage than that. I'm not terrified of my wife leaving me because I don't have a six-pack anymore. Ideally, you want to be in that position where you actually love the person, but in order to get to that position, you have to get through those filters. So you can't put the cart before the horse and have this imaginary romance where like all your goals and values are aligned and you love each other because you love God. And that's like step 4. You got to get through step 1, attraction. You got to get through that filter. Step 2, personality. You got to have some game. You got to figure out how to get that person to open up to you, and for you to be able to open up in a safe way with that person, in a way that knowing, kind of thinking about what they're going to find attractive, what they're going to find interesting about your life and your thoughts, and just learning how to make a person feel good about having a conversation with you. Conversation is a skill. It's one that can be learned. So great news if you feel like you got no game. You can learn to have game. If you're a natural introvert, you can just choose not to be. You can just choose to be different from whatever you are. One of the worst pieces of advice you will ever get, whether it's dating, work, anything, is be yourself. That's the worst piece of advice anyone can ever give you. Other than like obviously bad advice, like, well, it's totally fine. You should drink a pint of whiskey and go driving. Don't do that either. But yeah, be yourself is terrible advice. You need to be, for a person to even know who yourself is, like your natural mode of being, you got to get through those filters. And so you don't want to be like an artificial person where you're like pretending to be a role, but you want to think about what another person wants from you, wants to hear from you, and would like to hear from you, and work with that basically to get that person and to get to know that person. You want to know who that person is too, and that maybe they're getting filtered out. That's the other thing, is that if you're able to get through a lot of people's filters, that means you can actually apply your filters a lot better. Like I said, if you have 100 dates, you're probably going to find one or two people in that pool that are going to be closer to what you actually want. I think the problem with women dating right now is they're not applying filters like 2 through 4 correctly at all. So what happens is they get on their online app, they swipe right on the Giga Chad guy, and of course he swipes on them because men swipe on everyone. And so she goes on a date with him, and because he's so attractive, she feels afraid that like she's going to lose his attention. So she doesn't start applying those filters. She sleeps with him too early. Then he puts her, what category does he put her in? Not the friend zone. He puts her in the hoe zone. You don't want to be in the hoe zone if you're a woman. The hoe zone is not where you want to be. But a man will put you in the hoe zone if you put out too quickly, or if he views you as just an easy lay. And then you're never going to get anywhere. And then women get stuck. They're like, well, I could attract this like 9 out of 10 Chad. Yeah, but you couldn't lock him down. You actually need to be thinking a lot more strategically as a woman. So you probably shouldn't be getting into like a sexual relationship till you're applying filter step number like 3 or 4. That is, okay, he's attractive. He has a good personality. If he's attractive and doesn't have a good personality, don't let your attraction to him make you not apply that filter. You got to filter him out. He has a trash personality. Just be aware that there's a lot of other men that are going to be interested in you, and then filter 3, do we have the same goals? If we don't, filter him out. So women are like not filtering men correctly, and it's causing them all kinds of terrible anguish. Men aren't getting through the first filter. So my help for men is like, be as attractive as possible, lose weight, get shredded, get a good haircut. What else? Get your teeth fixed, all that kind of shit. And you're going to have a lot better time of it. So when you view that, and finally you get through the filter where like, we're going to get married, you get married and have kids. And hopefully that will set the marriage up to be fruitful and permanent, because you've vetted that person through all of those steps. Nothing's 100%. Right. But I'm convinced that a lot of people who end up divorced are divorced because somewhere along the way, they weren't really thinking of these filters. Like I've seen people in the comments, they're like, I was married, she didn't want children, so we divorced. It's like this. Usually you discuss this before you're married, and then she may have changed her mind. So I did have a friend in college, and he got married, and got married with like, we're going to have a family, we're going to have kids. And she just changed her mind after they got married. She was like, no, I want to get a doctorate. I don't want to have kids anymore. I want to have this sort of academic life. And so they got divorced, and that sucks, but they hadn't brought kids into the world yet. So in that case, the divorce is really just more like a bad breakup. It's not, and like, that was kind of inevitable. It's like, oh, okay. Your goals suddenly don't align with mine at all. This isn't going to work out. You get the idea. Anyway, let's take a look at the chat, and then we'll talk about some other ways that we apply filters in everyday life for all kinds of things. So when you view it as a filter, I think it helps a lot. And let me tell you, when you're able to like change how quickly you get through that filter number one, it makes a huge and profound difference in your life. You wouldn't think it, like, even if you're already, I remember going to this bar with like my brother-in-law. I wasn't married yet. And like, there was a girl that was there on a date with another guy, and she just saw me telling jokes and like had someone pass to me her number, right? With like this note about how hot she thought I was. While her date was like in the bathroom. And I remember that as a huge confidence boost, because it's like, yeah, like I'm hitting filter 1 and 2 there so hard that women are like wanting to abandon their current dates to have a chance with me, right? That feels really good. When I say that's life-changing, I mean that changes what you view as possible with everything. Like, oh, I'm good. I could get a better job. Oh, I'm good. I don't have to put up with my current bad girlfriend. I could break up with her and find someone better. I know that that's maybe crass, but some people probably need to break up with their girlfriend before they marry them. Like, stop wasting your time. Be realistic, apply those filters. And I come back to this other truth. People got very upset when I said this. I'm like, it's better to be alone than to be in a bad relationship. And if you can be okay being alone with that, you're going to be better. You're going to feel better about being alone if you feel like you have options to not be alone. That too. And the options are going to come from being able to get through those filters. Anyway, let's take a look at the chat. I love you all. Yeah. Your Patreon video really resonated with me since it's exactly what I'm dealing with. Growing up, I had... Peter Pan video, yes. Growing up, I had so many disadvantages that I'm shooting for mediocrity in my 30s. Exceptionalism's out of reach. So, to me, it's not even being about, like, exceptional. It's really just having goals. Because I didn't want... some people took it as, like, you need to have a career and work hard. It's like, no, there's people who just sort of reject having goals. That's Jimmy turns 35 is Jimmy doesn't have goals. Jimmy works and then goes home and plays video games and is content. And I don't hate Jimmy for that, because I am Jimmy. I still play games, right? I just have a lot of other goals and responsibilities. I've always been a person that had big dreams and big goals, and I've always worked on them, even if I did it poorly or they didn't come to anything or they fell flat. I think about all the hours that I've wasted kind of working on bands that didn't go anywhere. And just how disappointing that is. It's really disappointing. But at the same time, I was really trying. Whereas Jimmy and the Jimmys of the world that I've known, I envy them because they don't feel the need to try. So yeah, it's not, you don't have to be exceptional. You just have to have like some goals. Like, what's your basic goal? Maybe your goal's doing a book, that's huge. Most people can't finish a big project like that. Maybe, I have a cousin who's building a house by himself, like by hand. What an amazing project. That's not Peter Pan. No, he's not married, but it's like, he has a huge thing that he's doing. He's just, that's such an explosion of human energy to like build a thing. That's all it is, right? That's all it would take, honestly, to revolutionize your self-thought and your life is like, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something that's important, that has a goal. And I think a lot of people who maybe went to college, they do this better because when you're in the university system, there's a goal of getting a degree. You're kind of in the flow of that. So you could take those lessons and maybe apply them to other things as well. It's not just like doing the rat race or doing a career. It could be building a business, right? You have this goal of like, I'm going to build a landscaping business. You can make a lot of money landscaping. You can make decent money. I'm going to be a contractor. There's so many things you could do and so many businesses you can build that are honestly great. Why not, why not do that? So, coffee is soup confirmed. Yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah. You don't have to be exceptional. You're exceptional just by having a goal in a lot of cases. Maybe your goal is to like run a marathon. you know? And think about, you know, if you're like, how do I appear special to women? It's like, just have goals. Women are really attracted to like men who just have something in their life that they're passionate about, that something's going on. It's like, what do you like do in your free time? So if a woman asks, what do you do in your free time? The answer shouldn't be, I play video games. Even if you do play a lot of video games, you need to have like another thing that's going on. You'd be like, yeah, you know, I'm into fitness and I'm working on my first Ironman super marathon, my ultra marathon. I'm trying to figure out how far I can take my fitness. I'm going to do an ultra marathon. I've done marathons, you know. If you tell a woman like, yeah, I run marathons, she'd be like, damn, this guy is for real. Like, that's a serious thing to say, I ran a marathon. It's like saying I wrote a book, and it's the same thing. Oh, what do you do? Well, I write books. It sounds very impressive. And even if the reality is not that impressive, it's enough that the woman feels like you have a personality and you have a life that is not just boring. You don't feel boring. Men don't judge women by that same standard, by the way. So if you're a woman watching and you're like, well, how do I appear interesting to men? It's like, it doesn't matter that much to men. It just doesn't. Like, you're into marathons, cool. If you're into fitness and he's into fitness, he might be kind of excited. He's like, cool, we share this thing and we can both live a healthy lifestyle together. And that can be really attractive. But mostly it's not, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you're into something or not. You know what I mean? It's more like what your personality is. Are you kind? You know, do I think I'll get along with you? Do you cook well? You know, that matters to some people. That doesn't matter to me at all, is cooking ability. It's not that my wife is a bad cook, but I've never cared at all about how a woman cooks because I'm a picky eater and I have a strict diet. Especially when I was fit, it's like, I want to make you this food. It's like, I can't eat that food. It's like, what? I can't eat that. Why can't you eat it? It's not on my diet. Well, for one day, I'm like, one day turns into 5 days. You know, I don't want this to be my cheat meal. I want my cheat meal to be like ice cream. I got to pick and choose here. I think a lot of the attraction rate of men and women is because women are improved by makeup and men aren't. So men are not improved by makeup. So men have to be improved by other things. But you can dye your hair. You know, if you're gray like me, you don't need, I wouldn't be putting on the Gandalf look if I was, I wouldn't be doing the Gandalf look if I was actually trying to attract someone. Hold on, I got to text my wife here. Tell Olivia that Curtis is outside. All right. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. Makeup helps women. Makeup helps women, for sure. It will, let me think about this. Makeup and hair can take a woman up 2 points, let's say. So if she's a 6, she can look an 8. If she's an 8, she can look like a knockout with hair and makeup. But for men, you have to think like, do men need the makeup? No, we don't really need the makeup. Maybe if you're trying to get through that first layer, once you've established the personality part, you don't need to keep up the appearance as strong. You just don't need to. And in fact, it can actually be a turnoff if we're always worried about your makeup. You know, and some men are turned off by makeup, but usually makeup works, especially if you're doing it, say, moderately or in a subtle way. Makeup is usually going to help to attract men. And it's women also enforce that other women need to wear makeup. But the thing you probably shouldn't do as a woman is do what makeup tutorials on YouTube tell you to do, most of them. So makeup that works for like a porno shoot or a YouTube video are probably not going to work that well in real life where you're in 3 dimensions moving around a person. And that's because like the contouring and the kind of like the crazy makeup that they do, first of all, you're not going to be able to keep that up in a relationship. So you don't want to start at that level if you can help it. But also it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good in regular lighting. So if you show up with like contoured makeup, man's not going to like it. Is tea a soup or is coffee a tea? Coffee is a tea, I think. Long hair helps. A lot of women are really into it. So, yes and no. Here's my advice on this. And this goes for women as well. In fact, it's probably more important for women than it is for men. But it's important for men as well. Let's say, talk about hair length, right? My wife likes long hair. I said that my wife dated me when I had short hair. She dated me when my hair was shorter. She knew me when I had short hair, and she was attracted to me. When she met me, I had short hair. That was a long time ago. And we didn't date right when we met. But like long hair, she's into me with the long hair. So yes, a woman who likes long hair will like that you have long hair. The woman who doesn't like long hair will not like you because you have long hair. Chances are you're not, like, it's like a same thing with maybe tattoos, like anything that's a little bit out of the ordinary. There's people who really like that, but those people who really like that would still, they still like people without that thing. So the woman who likes long hair and is into long hair is still going to be really into the guy with short hair if he's hot. The long hair is not going to make a difference. It's not going to be the make or break part. And the man who's really, maybe there's, you know, it's like when girls cut their hair, like women should wear long hair. If you're trying to attract a man, the highest quality man possible, you just want to play the numbers, right? Long hair. Don't wear short hair. I'm just telling you, don't ever wear short hair. Why? There's men who are into short hair. They are a small percentage, but there are men who straight up will not date you if you have short hair. They won't give you the time of day. They see the short hair and it signals to them all the wrong things. You know, and I remember, like, I've known girls that cut their hair really short sometimes, and they're like, I just wanted it to be short. And it's like, you are unattractive now. My attraction towards you is gone. You know, it just disappeared. Same thing with blue hair. Like, there's lots of subtle social signals that people put on their bodies. If you're dyeing your hair, if you're doing a crazy hairstyle, you're identifying with a subculture. And for people that are really into that subculture, that is attractive and interesting to them. But if you didn't have that and they were into that subculture, they would still like you. It's not a filter. It's a preference. So we're talking about filters, whereas short hair will filter you out for a lot of men. So if you're a woman with short hair, you're going to get filtered out. And if you're a man with long hair, you're going to get filtered out a little bit. Now, when I say long, I mean my hair is like long, you know, my hair goes down to down my back. I'd probably cut it. You know, I don't know, find some pictures of me with like kind of, like if you look at my profile picture on the channel, like that's the length of hair that I usually wore. It's not short. Like it's long enough to be, you know, kind of stylish, or it was at the time. So it worked, but it wasn't like metalhead long hair. So, you know, it all varies. So you don't want to filter yourself out. And so doing weird things to your body will filter yourselves out. If you get that septum piercing, there might be a guy who's really into the septum piercing. Guess what? He would date you if you didn't have the septum piercing. But there's many men who will not date you because you have the septum piercing. So don't get it. If your goal is to actually attract a mate, if you're trying to play this numbers game, if you're trying to be wise and Machiavellian, like I'm telling you, then you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't get the nose piercing. You wouldn't do you wouldn't have any weird piercings because it filters people out. Yes, it's a special attraction for like a weird fetishist, but do you really want someone whose fetish is like the septum piercing? Is that actually the person you want? Or do you want a person that's different from that? What's the kind of person you actually want to be with? And you should make yourself the person that person wants. Within reason, right? Like you don't want to transform yourself into something that you hate in order to attract a mate because that's not comfortable. But you get the idea, right? Doing weird piercings is just going to filter you out of the dating pool for a lot of people, whether you're a man or a woman. Same thing with tattoos. You know, why shouldn't you get a bunch of tattoos? Because the people that are really into tattoos are a smaller number than the people who will just not be attracted to you because you have tattoos. So that means you should avoid tattoos, because the people who are super into tattoos, and I've known them, you know, I've known women who are like, super into tattoos. Guess what? They were super into me without tattoos. It wasn't a make or break thing. It wasn't a filter. It was a preference. So know the difference between a filter and a preference. Better if the long hair is maintained. Long, gross hair is just extra gross. I've had many people compliment me on my long hair and ask what my hair care routine is. I start getting old, got less hair than I used to have. So that doesn't come up as much anymore, but it used to come up a lot. And then I just shampoo it, dry it, I just have gray hair. I wish working on the Riz was easier. Getting fit and looking reasonably appealing isn't hard. Being charismatic does not come naturally to me. It does not come naturally to most people, but it's something you can learn. Like I said, you can find a pickup artist that has a good script And you're just going to use that script to get to know women. You're not going to use it to try to seduce them into one night stands, because you actually don't want that kind of woman. You want to filter out the one night stand woman if you're looking for a long-term relationship. Anyone who would have, who does one night stands, it's like a filter out. And women don't understand this. It's like, I told him he didn't seem like the kind of guy I would have a one night stand with, but someone I would stay with. And then he broke up with me. It's like, what did I do wrong? Well, you told him you like one night stands and that he wasn't in that category, that he wasn't attractive enough for you to just want him. So he's like, oh, I'm not attractive. I'm like money to you. So he immediately felt like he turned into a wallet that you were like a piñata you were hitting to get money out of. So he's like, yeah, I broke up with you. You didn't really think that through. So as a woman, you shouldn't do one night stands because it lowers your value towards the men that you actually want. General piece of advice. I don't know how many women are watching. Women can honestly tell each other all the information that they need, but most women don't listen. They're influenced and hypnotized by media into thinking that life is a series of sexual escapades. And if you're not having sex with a bunch of random people, you're missing out on a bunch of experiences. And then when it's like, but I want this permanent thing in my life, now you are going to have a much harder time getting it because you're now on the wrong side of a filter. You're on the promiscuous filter. You're automatically in the hoe zone for most guys that you meet. Sorry. Yeah. Pray for me. It's a nightmare hellscape up there. I get it. I'm giving the best advice I can. It's old. Take it with a grain of salt. I've been married for over 10 years at this point, but I feel like the evergreen stuff, the stuff that was true in 2010 is the stuff that's true today about attractiveness, which is you got to be as attractive as possible. In fact, it's more important now. It's far more important for a man to be attractive now than it was 15 years ago, because even, 15 years ago, people weren't super into online dating. Like online dating was like eHarmony and like that kind of thing. It wasn't like a Tinder where you're like swiping and you're just like glancing at hot, yes. Ugly, no. Like you weren't doing that. Women weren't doing that. So you would meet a woman like at a club or a bar or a social function, could be at the country club, whatever. You could approach her, begin a conversation, and she would become more attracted to you the more you talk to her. So your game mattered a lot. The game still matters, but the attraction filter happens a lot more quickly and you can get rejected a lot more quickly. Whereas at the social function, you're physically in the same space. She can't just take one look at you and be like, go away. She could if you're like the Elephant Man or you're coming up creepy with like, I don't know. I'm thinking a lot of funny things that I want to say on YouTube. Yeah, exercise and workout only help in physical and mental confidence. Yeah. What's the upkeep for veneers? Wear and tear. I'll tell you those. Okay. The upkeep is 0. These I have are a name brand called Lumineers. They didn't pay me to tell you that. I don't even know if they're still around. So the upkeep is 0. I have one that is cracked right here. Now that one has broken twice. And it broke because it was made slightly the wrong size. Slightly too big for the tooth. So it was really rubbing up against that first molar and it split in half. And so part of it flaked off. I had it replaced for free. They replaced it for free because there's a warranty. My teeth had a warranty. And that one, years later, it also kind of broke in the same place. But you can't really tell till I get it at a really certain angle that there's a veneer there. So I just haven't felt like spending the money. It'd probably be, a couple $100 to have a new one put on, maybe more. They're not cheap to get them done well. But the upkeep 0, it's just like having a normal tooth. There's just an extra layer to the tooth, and the veneers are better than teeth because they don't stain. They're actually even harder than your enamel, so they're really super durable. Mine are supposed to last for 20 years. I'll be coming up on 20 years for these veneers in 2030. So another 5 years, I'll be looking at, do these veneers need to be replaced? To replace the veneers, they basically break them off. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And then you can have new ones put on. Those last maybe another 20 years. So you're looking at very little upkeep, close to 0 upkeep, because they aren't a crown where they're grinding your tooth down. Don't get crowns. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but like maybe you need crowns because your teeth are too far gone. My teeth were still there and healthy, so veneers were appropriate for me. But you see, like, don't go to Turkey to get your crowns. I feel like I can just say that. Most dentists will tell you not to do that. If we need to correct a thing, like maybe you just need Invisalign, maybe you just need braces to like put the teeth into a better shape and get your bite fixed. My bite was completely effed up to where I couldn't, my teeth closed like this and I couldn't open my mouth. I mean, I couldn't bite all the way down. So what had to happen is they had to let the top teeth spread out so that I could actually bite appropriately. But then there were all these gaps in the teeth and they were like sliding on the front teeth. So we had to first kind of allow my teeth to open up because the braces closed it up like this. I almost had an underbite. It was really horrible and completely very uncomfortable. It's still not right. My bite is not right, but it's like, it's better now. And then we put the veneers on it to kind of close those gaps up and fix what was with the flaked and chipped teeth. I need to clean my glasses. I thought you were asking about upkeep for wieners. Yeah, my glasses are... I have kids. My glasses are always getting smeary because my daughter will take my glasses and wear them, and then I have kid fingerprints all over them. Madonna looks quite weird these days. Yeah, Jared. Like, every time I see a picture of her, like she looks better in some more recent pictures. Maybe she had just had work done and was like kind of puffed up or something. Yeah. There's aging gracefully, and then there's trying way too hard to keep your claws on your youth. That's the funny thing about Pam Anderson. They're like, Pam Anderson looks so beautiful. I'm like, well, she looks like a 50-something-year-old woman. Like a good-looking 50-something-year-old woman with like healthy body weight, good bone structure, you know, good skin or whatever. But she doesn't look like she's 40 or 30. And she doesn't look like a weird plastic surgery monster either. So people are just basically saying, yay, Pam Anderson for looking normal. And that's great. I think it's great that she looks normal. I think she looks beautiful for her age. You know who looked really good for her age was Sally Field. Sally Field held her looks for a long time. She looked really good as an older lady, like way better than most women her age. Don't be yourself. Be your best self. I like that one too. Be the best version of you. Don't be what's automatic. Like, think about, a lot of times when people think of, I want to be myself, they think like, I want to be what I am automatically inclined to be. But that doesn't really work out for anything else in your life, right? If you feel like you need to use the bathroom, you don't just like urinate all over yourself. You go to the bathroom where it's appropriate to urinate. So giving into your urges all day long, like that's your natural thing to do, that's not appropriate for most things. You don't need to do that. So yeah, be the best version of you. Know when to tell an appropriate joke and when not. Know when to be a little bit risque and when not. And the more you get to know that person you're with, the more you kind of get to reveal that side of yourself and also know when it's appropriate to do. My wife knows that I like to tell like really crazy jokes, and I tell them with her because I know she's not going to like kick me out the door for saying something too extreme. You know what I mean? People who have good personalities can also be psychopaths. That's an interesting thought. There's a need to be careful about that. Yeah, that's why you want to spend time vetting somebody. You don't want to just meet someone and be like, oh, this person is great. I'm going to marry them tomorrow. No, you vet them a little bit. Come on. Oof, I know a guy who needs to break up with his girlfriend. Bad relationship. He deserves better. I had a great friend in college who, he was in a bad relationship, man. And we kept trying to convince him to leave it. And he finally got out of it and was just like, but he felt trapped because it's like he was sharing an apartment. Like they had their finances kind of bound up. And it was, it's like, I need to get out of this. It's like, you got to get out of this. You can sleep in my couch if you need to, right? Because you're just wasting both of your times. You're wasting her time and your time by being in a relationship that's not right, you know? And for women, I think it's a bigger waste than men because men, you know, just because you're 40 doesn't mean family life is written off for you, believe it or not, because you can still have kids that are yours, you know, into your 80s or whatever, right? Now, like, sperm quality decreases, but you know, you get my point. For women, you literally run out of eggs. So wasting 5 years of a woman's life in her 20s is like devastatingly cruel. you need to, and I'm serious here. I'm thinking from a woman's perspective. It's like, she views the relationship as going in a certain trajectory, as like, we're going to get married and have kids. And 5 years later, she has to break up with the guy because he's a loser, right? Most of the women that I know that this happened to, they started dating a guy like in high school or college. And their trajectory was like, okay, I graduated college and I have a job, and where's your job? Why aren't you doing this? And where's this going? All of a sudden you have a kind of a come to Jesus moment where you're like, I don't think this is going to happen. And if I spend another month with you, I can't spend another 5 years waiting on you. My eggs are going to run out, you know? I'm not going to be able to have the kid. I'm not going to be able to have kids if I stay with you. So even though I really like you and we have a great history and we get along, I have to break up with you because you just aren't living up to that goal that I thought we were going towards. Or maybe the goals weren't defined because you got together too young to have those goals. And so you grow up, you grow up, and it's like, but I've known you'll find many women that complain. It's like, I was with him for 7 years and then he finally proposed. I'm like, what were you thinking? You should have jumped him after 18 months if he wasn't proposing after 18 months. He doesn't want to be married to you. Yeah, it was awful that he wasted 7 years of your life, but you have some responsibility there too, to know he's not going to marry you. Move on. But and then it's like I invested 5 years in this relationship. Don't invest another day if it's not going to work out. You're just wasting your time. You're going to invest another 5 hoping that one day you can have a kid with a guy who won't get off his ass and finish his college degree? Come on. Filter him out. Filter him out. You can apply max effort just being yourself, which only amplifies what your current self is good or bad at. That's why I say you got to think about what other people want from you that you can give them, right? Sometimes what people want from you is not what you can give them, and you should be with them. But like, if it's like, this person likes that I'm funny, I need to figure out how to tell, I feel good being funny around this person. I'm going to think about the good jokes and the ways to make her laugh. And that's what she really likes from me. That's a good way of being yourself, rather than like, I like to tell racist jokes. Therefore I'll just tell racist jokes. And if she doesn't like me, that's her problem. It's like, well, maybe not. It's not easy right now for many to get motivated to do stuff because there's a lot of black pilling demoralization online. Yes, I'm trying to red pill you, not black pill you. Here's the white pill for guys. I'm going to give you a bunch of, let's do a bunch of white pills. Okay. Let's get rid of a couple black pills. So white pill number 1. White pill number 1. You're not out of time. Okay. Lots of people didn't have big success until way later in their life. George R.R. Martin didn't become the success he was until much later in his life. J.R.R. Tolkien didn't even really live to see his full success. So these great artists, a lot of them are only successful after they're dead. Bach had a day job running churches, doing church music. And now we think of him as like the greatest Baroque composer, but he wasn't thought of that when he was alive. So not saying you have to wait till you're dead to be successful, but it ain't over till it's over. So there's your white pill number 1. And as a man, just because something hasn't worked out yet for you doesn't mean it can't work out in the future. If you're 30 or even 40, that doesn't mean there's no future for you. It just means you have to adjust and figure out and improve and seek in a way that's going to give you the best of what you can have in the future. So yes, you can still have a family in your 40s as a man. You just have to date a younger woman. So that means you have to be the right kind of man to date the younger woman. So that's part of it. But also, you may have to lower your standards for what kind of younger woman you want. And you may even consider adoption or something to have a family. That's also viable. Maybe you meet someone that's closer to your age and she kind of missed out on life too. And you're like, we're just kind of too old to have kids. Maybe we could adopt a kid and have that family life and give that gift to a kid who was disadvantaged, So there's so many different outlets towards what you can do with your life. So it ain't over till it's over. So that's white pill number 1. There's other kinds of white pills too, which is like, for instance, there's always this narrative about how devastating divorce is for men. This isn't a white pill, it's a gray pill. It's also devastating for women. but it's for men, it's usually a temporary setback. Whereas like, cause as a 40-year-old man, you can still have a second family. Actually, you can still get married and have a family, but as a woman, those options are pretty much gone. They're way more limited when you're like 40 as a woman. So divorce is not the end. Divorces happen. And if unfortunately you ended up in a divorce, forgive yourself, move on, know that there's better things on the horizon and that setback can be overcome. Okay. So there's a white pill. Another white pill. You can change your looks. Okay. Some men are born handsome. Other men become handsome through effort. You may not be a 10, but you can make yourself an 8, and 8 will get through the filters if you just get really fit and get a good haircut and, take some good pictures and, you can make yourself look good. So there's another white pill for you. And I'm going to give you a little truth. This is a white pill, is that women, we have this narrative. We always have these narratives that affect how we are expecting things to go. And one of them is that like women are only into money, which is not true. If you're really attractive, she'll date you if you're broke. I know that from experience. If you're really attractive, she'll date you if you're broke. She'll marry you if you're broke too. I didn't know that quite from experience, but yeah. She'll, and if you have a good personality and you're attractive, the money matters a lot less to women than you think it does, because it just does. If they love you, then they're actually willing to accept a different kind of lifestyle in order to have you, believe it or not. Like but you have to be really high quality. So there's always the possibility, like if money matters less than you think if you're attractive. And if you're just ugly, then you can put your focus into making money, and that also works too. Yeah, people grossly overstate the negative. So there's a bunch of little white pills for you. It took me a while to find exactly what I wanted to do, but now that I found a goal, becoming a teacher, I feel much more secure in my life, and a lot of anxiety that I had is now simply gone. Boom. And check out that, like, you become a teacher. That's a really secure career that pretty much guarantees a middle-class income and a decent retirement that you don't have to think about. You don't have to think about what kind of stocks you're buying, because me and my wife are self-employed, we have to think about retirement, and it's a stress. Because it's like, are we ever going to be able to retire? Are we ever going to be able to put away enough money that we don't have to work anymore? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be working until the day I die or something. That's possible. But as a teacher, and I was a teacher, and my mom was a teacher, it's like my mom has a full retirement. My mother-in-law had a full retirement just from being a teacher. And it can be, and if you are able to put up the right walls, like mental walls, as a teacher, it can be very gratifying and a really easy job. And I know, because I was a public school teacher. So the job is as easy as you want it to be. Most teachers are expecting this grand sort of fulfillment from teaching that they get really disappointed by it about a year or two into the job, because it's like, I want to help kids, and you can't help that many kids. You can't help as many kids as you want, but you can teach them things. You can make them more educated. You can help them a little bit. And more importantly than that, like, you can do your job well enough that people appreciate what you're doing, and you can make a lot of money doing it. See, I always mention like teacher salaries, and the teachers make more money than you think, especially if you can get really far over on the teaching schedule. So if you're a teacher and you're unmarried, Mr. Combat Master, I assume you're a man. Like 90% of my audience is male. Maybe 85%. So I just assume that you're a man. So if you're single and a man and a teacher, it's really easy to save money. Just live in an apartment, put away a lot of money, and work on yourself, and take a lot of continuing ed classes. Pick up a master's degree at night. Why not? If you don't have that much else going on, go get the master's degree and whatever excites you. And that master's degree is going to move you over. The earlier you get it, the more it pays for itself. It can move you over a couple spots. You can get one from like the local university, probably cheaply. If you have a local state university, certainly in California, it's not that expensive to get a master's degree from like Cal State. So just go get one, and then you move over like me. And it was all the way over on the teaching schedule. And then your years pile up. I knew people that made over $100,000 a year as teachers, and they didn't do shit for work. They were bad teachers. But point is, I got paid $100,000 to work 6 hours a day. Not bad. Because then you have all that extra time you can do stuff with. Spend it with your kids and your wife. Go on vacations in the summer. Take classes that enrich you. Write a book. Write a novel. I wrote like 4 books while I was a teacher. Big books. I wrote Water of Awakening like on my lunch break. I wrote Muramasa like on my lunch break. I wrote what else did I write? I wrote a bunch of books like on my. I wrote Bright Children on my lunch break when I worked in California. Women are attracted to men who have the same interests. A little bit. Most women are highly status oriented, so they want their man to look good and be part of something bigger. So yeah, get through the first filter of looking good is the most important thing that I'm talking about here. And yeah, be part of something bigger. Even if it's like you can join Knights of Columbus. Just be part of an organization. Be a country club. Be part of the country club. That helps too. Women's makeup is so good now they can totally change their look, almost like a photo filter. Yeah. Makeup won't take off that extra 100 pounds though. That's for the camera. Yeah. That's it. For women, you got to be lower body fat. If you're trying to attract a man, if you're already married, these things loosen up when you're married because you're secure in your relationship. You've already got past that filter. What's more important is keeping the relationship secure by making the domestic life really peaceful and really fruitful and really fun. So that could include maybe people gain weight. People usually gain weight after they get married. It's fine because you're having fun doing things like eating pizza together, going to Disneyland together, or whatever you do for your honeymoon. You're doing a lot of fun things together, and that usually involves eating food. So yeah, you might gain a couple pounds. But as long as you're really secure with the commitment of the relationship, and you're also committed to I'm not going to let myself be 400 pounds. I still exercise and try to eat right. You're usually going to be okay. I gained a little bit of weight after I got married, and I gained more weight after my son was born, but that was because of an injury. I talk about it in one of my books. Honestly, I could never grow my hair past my shoulders. Too fine. For a man to wear his hair longer than that would make me feel off. Nothing against the man's long hair. Yeah. So there's a filter, right? It's I don't want a man who has longer hair than me. Why do men get height surgery? Because that's a filter. Women have a filter of, I want a guy who's taller than me. That's a minimum filter. Now, I've known plenty of guys who got around that filter. I've known short kings that marry tall women, and they have a great marriage, and it's great. Why? Because they just kind of got past that part of I want a guy who's taller than me, but I really like this guy who's shorter than me, and then you just end up really loving him. And you end up not caring that he's actually shorter than you because all the other qualities really outweigh that first filter. It's really hard though. So guys get height surgery, which is so crazy that you would have your bones cut up and stretched in order to get past that first filter for women. And you meet the guys who got it and they're like, oh, it's totally worth it. Why is it worth it? Oh, because I'm able to date so many more women. It's that filter. I'm getting filtered out because I'm 5'6". If I was 5'10", I wouldn't get filtered out. Now keep in mind, last time I was at the doctor, they measured me as being 6'2". I don't feel 6'2", but sometimes I realize when I'm standing next to people, I'm taller than everybody. And I had a friend that I worked with, and he's like, it's easy. I said something like, he was breaking up with a girlfriend. I was like, there's other women in the sea. And he goes, that's easy for you to say, you're tall. And I was like, I am tall. I never thought about it. But it's it is a big advantage. It's a big privilege. I have tall privilege, or whatever you want to call it. It's an advantage. You just get through that first filter easier if you're tall. You just do. Women like tall men. And on dating apps, it's abstract. I want a guy who's 6'2", and they're 5'5". The fact is, if they met a guy who was 5'8", they would still be okay with him because he's taller than they are. They just want to feel like the man is bigger and stronger than them because they want to feel secure with a man, And so it's the same thing with the long hair, right? If your hair's longer than the woman's, she might be put off by that. Nose ring theory is never wrong. I'm part of the generation that was bombarded with with unrestricted internet. It took a while for me to get out of Peter Pan stage in my life and do something meaning with it. Same thing with me, man. I had a big crater. Now, I wasn't Peter Pan actually at 23. I was mega mega super intense guy. But I was kind of Peter Pan at 27 because like everything fell apart in my life and like the economy was shit. And so it's like, well, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do the minimum. I'm going to work at the truck center and I'm going to play World of Warcraft. And I'm going to teach my guitar classes a couple days a week. And that's going to be it. Do you think Salma Hayek is telling the truth about having never had plastic surgery? That is a great question. I would pose that question to Gary Lindoff. He is a plastic surgery YouTuber, and he specializes in that kind of content. And he could tell you whether she's never had work done. Let me look at a picture of her real quick. And see if she's looking her age. I'm seeing a picture of her. She looks her age. She's got wrinkles. She might not have never had plastic surgery. Maybe she's had like Botox or something to get rid of like, because she doesn't have forehead wrinkles, you know. She's got good makeup. You're not seeing what I'm seeing. Let me try to show it to you guys. Let's look at Salma Hayek. This is not a professional opinion. I'm not a specialist on this. It's just kind of my feeling. All right. Here's Salma Hayek, right? You know, let's find a recent picture of her. Like this, you know, if we look at this, she's, you know, I guess she looks good for her age, right? She's like 60, I think. You know, I don't know. There might be filler there. Usually filler's going to show up if she's smiling. So they take these pictures of them not smiling because the filler looks better when you're not smiling. But when she's smiling, I'm not seeing the bunching up under the eyes. I'm seeing wrinkles, which is pretty natural. So, but her forehead's very smooth. So she might have had Botox somewhere, which... Does that count as plastic surgery? I don't know. You tell me. I'm not against it. Keep in mind, she's an actress. She's an actress. And so if you're an actress, you got to make sure your assets in your face and the rest of you are good. So like, yeah, I wouldn't feel, and you don't come out and say you've had plastic surgery either. If you can maintain that lie, then you maintain it. So maybe she's had some filler or something, a little bit, touch of filler, maybe a little bit of Botox or something, whatever else she might have had done. It's probably pretty minimal because it doesn't look extreme. And even if she had, I don't know, a small facelift or something, who cares? Like part of her job is to look a certain way. And so she needs to have that work done. And if it's done well, then all the better, right? All the better. Let's go back here. Stan Lee didn't become successful till he was 38. Ronnie James Dio joined Black Sabbath when he was 38. So he didn't have, he's a mega rock star, and he didn't have any success until into his 30s. David Coverdale was in Deep Purple when he was young. So he had success early, but Whitesnake wasn't a big hit till David Coverdale was like 38. You know, 33 is supposed to be the real start of your life in older fiction. The Count of Monte Cristo had that be the age of his main character escaped and started his revenge. Yeah. Traditionally, that's the age that Christ was crucified. And Christ began his ministry at 30. So, you know, your 20s should be about building yourself up so you can hit it at 30. I feel like, just as an aside, I feel like our society right now with our current economic conditions would run better if men were a lot more willing to, basically if women were willing to date older men. So like if you're 21, if you were dating 30-year-olds, you'd probably get a lot more out of what you want with that age gap. The fact is, like, people, I feel like women make a big deal out of age gaps because they feel like there's too much competition. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I'm not sure why, but it makes more economic sense. And the truth is, like, a 21-year-old can be very emotionally mature, and you become more mature with your interactions with other people. So if you're dating a 21-year-old, she gets more in your lane. If you're 30, she gets kind of like maturized by knowing or being with a 30-year-old. I don't know. I feel like that would be the natural solution to where we have now. Men need to spend more time establishing themselves economically, and younger women need to be willing to date more economically established men. That means there's going to be an age gap. In different periods in the past, age gaps were more or less standard. But believe it or not, most peasants didn't really have an age gap, and they actually didn't date. They didn't marry as young as we thought. It's the nobles who married when they were like 15, and like peasants tended to get married a little bit older. 100%. People think it's over at 40. I'm like, what? I know of a lady who didn't take cello lessons until 91. Yeah. And the thing is, even if you get older, you can do new things. I saw Jordan Rudess decided he was going to be a guitar player too. He's the keyboard player for Dream Theater. Fabulous piano player. Decided he'd take up guitar at like 60. And he's like, it was great because it plasticizes your brain. Like you're challenging yourself because it's so easy to go to a keyboard and just fall into the way of thinking on that. But a guitar makes me think differently. And so he took up guitar and is a really good guitar player. Even though, like, you know, John Petrucci is the guitar player in Dream Theater, Jordan Rudess is an incredible guitar player because he's a great musician and was able to apply that to guitar and just keep growing. I know, let's say Christopher Lee. When did Christopher Lee become really successful? Probably not. He probably didn't become this like Titanic idea of a person till he was 80. When he did Lord of the Rings and he did Star Wars, and he took up playing in a heavy metal band. He started playing heavy metal at 89. I know age is not just a number. There are things that are going to limit you when you get older, but you can do new and interesting and great and fun things well into your old age. People look forward to retirement, or they used to, so that they could take up artistic endeavors that they were excited about. Charles Ives is a composer from the 20th century, and he studied music as a young person, and then he spent most of his adult life selling insurance. He sold insurance, and then I think he started an insurance company called the Ives Company. And then he only returned to music once he retired. And then all of the music that we know of from Charles Ives is mostly from when he retired from selling insurance. Have you heard of facelift dentistry? Ooh. It's a procedure performed by one clinic in California that can supposedly fix overbites and underbites without surgery. I haven't heard of this. But braces can fix those like over time too. Same thing with Invisalign. The hypergamy theory is coming from the people who really have not observed women. It's only partly true that women are attracted to money. Yeah. Well, the thing is, a woman looks at a man as a package. And that's why I'm talking about the filters is like the first filter for deciding if that's a package she wants is actually attraction. And it is for men as well, but they're not applied in the same equal way. Like women it's like, think about the cliche of the women dating the loser musician. Why is she dating the loser musician? He has no money. Because he's hot, because he's interesting, because he makes her feel like she's doing exciting things. Now, I did have this experience when I was like in Las Vegas, is that women like the idea of you being a musician more than the reality, because then they're like, oh, let's hang out tonight. I'm like, I'm working. And it's like, I can't believe you blew me off. It's like, I have to work. I have a gig. I can't not play the gig. You know, they imagine a rock star like touring the world, not a guy like going to play at the casino at 8:00 at night, you know? Women don't generally know this, unfortunately, but a good man is also a plus. Being good to a woman is very attractive. That said, the woman must be good too. Yeah. Hopefully you're applying your filters, right? I don't think retirement is going to exist much past the boomers. Retirement was actually kind of invented. I mean, it's not invented, but like this idea of you retire at 65 was kind of invented in the Roosevelt era as a way to try to alleviate unemployment, believe it or not, to give people money to not work so that other people could work. AI is going after teachers' jobs. But there's a lot of people with a stake in teaching jobs continuing to exist. AI will force teachers to do their jobs rather than be a babysitter. That's how I feel about it personally. See, I get excited about AI making homework. I've talked about this. AI making homework worthless. You cannot count on a student actually doing their homework anymore because they used AI to do their homework. Okay, perfect. No more homework. That's the solution. Teachers are throwing a fit. How could you say that we shouldn't have homework anymore? Because nobody's going to do their homework anymore. You have to figure out how to teach it in class, which is something you should have done the whole time anyway. You should have figured out how to do it in class. There's all these arguments for homework. They all boil down to the school day is not long enough is number one. So if the school day is not long enough, just make the school day longer. Okay. Or number two, children should be made to suffer. You'd be surprised the number of teachers that say children should be made to suffer. It's like children are going home and not suffering through the homework. They're using AI to do the homework. Okay. You have to test them in class. The grade is now the test. No more homework grades. The grade is the test. Oh, but that's not fair. It doesn't matter if you think it's unfair to the kids who are able to be conscientious and do their homework with their parents' help, but are too stupid to pass the math test. They have to pass the math test. They just have to do it. You have to get rid of your fuzzy feelings. You write your essay in class. You do your math in class. Everything's in class where you can see that they're not doing it with an AI. It's a super simple solution that will make children's lives better and make education better and make us more realistic about what people can achieve and give children back their childhoods. Imagine your children can go home and play with toys because their teacher actually taught them and like they did their work in class. Amazing. Go home, Dad, I have to do this homework and my teacher didn't teach me, so I don't know how to do it. Please remediate me on the kitchen table. Make enough money and you can become a solo dad via gestational surrogacy. Yes, man-made horrors beyond your imagination. That was exactly the plan. I hope to eventually get my PhD and do some writing on the side. Absolutely. Yeah, just do that. I mean, we're talking about, if you're young and you're single and you're a teacher, just move over on that salary scale. Get that continuing education. You can write it all off, by the way. It's all tax deductible because it's continuing ed. So like, your seminars on how to do this or that instructional style, that's all tax write-off. So write it off and move over on the salary schedule. I'm very happy with my music teacher job, but I teach private lessons, not public education. I've done both. I got really burned out from teaching private lessons for a long time. I might do it again because I feel like I could use some extra money. So I might get back into it. Either offer them online or I don't know. I feel like that'd be an easy way to sell my time, get a little extra money. 5'10" get filtered out due to height too. Yeah, I get it. But if you're a living 5'10" in person, feels like a 6 foot tall man to a woman who is short. That's my point, right? And so the guy who's 5'6" and gets the height surgery and he's 5'10", he says on his dating profile he's 6 feet tall. So he gets past the filter, and when he shows up as 5'10", the woman she can't really tell 6 feet. She's not like, wait a minute, I have a thing over here to see if my date really is 6 feet tall or if he's wearing lifts or something. Need to cultivate that tall personality. My husband's a foot taller than I am. That's cool. I went out with a woman once who was 4'11". So I was like way over. I was like, it's okay. It didn't look like a kid or anything, but it was just kind of funny. My wife she's not a full foot shorter than me. I think she's 11 inches shorter than me. I love her so much. All right. My first exposure to the idea of height surgery was the movie Gattaca. Yes, Gattaca is an amazing movie. I need to review it. It's a great movie. We should watch it. What I'm going to do for next week, I think we're going to talk about Force Awakens because we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of Force Awakens, and I would love to revisit it. I think I'm going to watch it with my son, see if I can convince him to watch it. Either this week or next week. Let's take a look. Okay, maybe the week after next. We'll do Force Awakens 10th anniversary. And just look at that movie again. And take a look at the last 10 years of Star Wars because that set the tone. It was bad, but the fans ate it up because they saw X-Wings, and then that's exactly what you got for the next 10 years. I'm kind of on the climb out of my Peter Pan right now after getting pilot CF2 rating. Oh, sweet. That's cool. Yeah. Being tall and wearing glasses, I was expected to be nice and have no expectations. Get contacts. I wear reading glasses, but, get contacts. If you feel like glasses are a hindrance, get contacts. Or get the surgery. You can see her age on the neck. Oh, Selma Hayek, yeah. One reporter said that she pulled back her hair to prove she has no facelift scars. Facelift scars will be, again, it's the toupee thing. They'll be invisible if you have a really good surgeon. Smart men know not to tell if they know she has had plastic done. Exactly. They do dating older men. They just lie. Okay. It's become sugar daddies and not official. Ray Bradbury lived with his parents until he was 30 and never learned to drive his entire life. I think Robert E. Howard always lived with his mom. I think Robert E. Howard always lived with his mom. Jordan Rudess is one of my favorite musicians. Yeah, I dig him a lot too. He's a great guy. Pension-free retirement was invented by Prussians to make people willing to fight for the army. I've heard this as well. That the Prussians really invented the modern welfare state. I'm not sure though. So we have like medieval evidence of people going into retirement and like coming up with contracts to give their farm over to like their kids in agreement for like a stipend. So like there's the idea of retirement, but not in the way that we think like a government pension or like you have a pension fund that just pays you an income. You know what I mean? I had 2 hours of just math homework a night in junior year. Absolute misery. Yeah. Should have had a 2-hour math class. Why not have math for 2 hours? You do the work in the class, and if you have problems, the teacher's right there to remediate. It's way better than sending a kid home to do homework with his parents who don't know trigonometry or can't remember it. You know what I mean? I don't blame a kid to use AI to get busy work removed. A lot of Zoomers, I don't blame them at all. If you were a kid, you would do it too. A lot of Zoomers are pissed about losing life to do well in school, then get screwed by the economy. Yes, that as well. When I was a kid, yeah, you'd steal essays off the internet. You'd use Cliff's Notes. Kids would use whatever to avoid doing work because they didn't want to do the work. They're not intrinsically interested in Pride and Prejudice, but they know they have to write an essay on Pride and Prejudice. So you get the Spark Notes or whatever, or actually it was Cliff's Notes. You get the Cliff's Notes. When Social Security started, the average lifespan was 65. FDR joked if you lived past 65, the money was all yours. I've decided I'm never incorporating homework into my lesson plans. I've seen kids outright cheat using AI in front of me. There's also this. So if you're going to argue against homework, so let me give you some like arguments that you can use with other teachers or with admin. Most admin I've found are on my side of homework. They're like, we don't really like homework because they know this. Like they're experienced teachers and they know how this stuff works. So first reason is that's the one that'll really appeal to teachers. It's against social justice. So the kids who are successful at homework are the kids who are able to go home and have really involved parents. So they're the better socioeconomic kids. They're the ones who are going to be able to do homework consistently. Whereas your poorer kids are going to go home to chaos and parents that don't give a shit, and they're not going to make them do their homework, and they're not going to be able to help them. So you are grading the advantage of having good parents rather than making things equal. So that's a really good argument that works on teachers. And it's true. But my whole thing of not giving homework is not to make things more equal, but really, I don't want to punish any of the kids, Yeah, women want 6 feet, but they don't really know what 6 feet is. They really are perceiving, do you feel taller than me? 5'10" is usually good. That's average. But even if you're not, it's just, can you get to know a woman long enough that she doesn't care about your height? That's the trick. With online dating, the answer is pretty much like no. But if you're meeting people in the real world, the answer is yes. You can absolutely be attractive physically enough, like be fit, but 5'6", and go up and talk to the woman and be really charming. And all of a sudden, the fact that she's looking you in the eye or even taller than you because she's wearing heels or whatever, just suddenly doesn't matter. Suddenly she's like, well, I like this guy though. I hope he asks me out. Private lessons isn't really worth it unless you have student retention, but that's based on parents and location too. I've kept the same 25 plus students. That's what makes it great. Yeah. Wait, I'm doing it wrong. I'm supposed to put 6 foot on my dating profile if I'm 5'10"? Yes. Women. Okay. Let's talk about the lie war, because this is part of filters. Everyone understands there's a filter you got to get through. So everyone lies all the time as a result. And so the thing is, you have to plan for the fact that everyone assumes that everyone's lying. So if everyone assumes everyone's lying, you have to lie too. And you have to lie in specific ways. I'm going to give you I guess, it's like, should I lie? Okay. If they assume you're lying, it's kind of like playing poker. It's part of the game. Part of the game is bluffing. So you're bluffing. People know you are. If you write 6'10", she's going to know you're 5'10". If you write 5'10", she's going to think you're 5'6". Not from my mouth. I've seen women say this. Whereas I'm 6'2", I can just put 6'2". I can just put that there. I'm not dating, but I'm tall, so I can just put my height. And if you're 6'6", then you have to actually be 6'6", just letting you know. If you're really tall, you have to actually be that height. Because if you put down 6'6" on your profile and you come in and you're 6 feet tall, she'll be like, you're not 6'6". I wanted a tall guy with a big schlong. You're just like kind of tall. I can't count on you packing it in the trousers with your 6 foot tall self. Okay. That's what you put. For your income, you always put gross, right? If someone's asked your income somewhere, you're always going to put gross. It's the same thing, right? You're 6 foot in the right light with the right shoes, so you're just 6 foot tall in your dating profile, right? Women, if they have to list their weight, they're going to drop 15 pounds off their weight, right? It's a sliding scale. If they're 115, they'll put 110. If they're 110, they'll just put 110. If they're 125, they'll say 120. If they're 140, they're going to say 125. If they're 180, they're going to say 165. There's 15 pounds. Once you get past like 130, she's dropping 15 pounds off her weight anytime that she has to give her weight, which she's never going to give. You know that those pictures aren't real. You know that those are like really filtered. You know that if you think she might be on the heavy side, she's going to be heavier, right? Just know it. Just accept it and be like, okay, her profile says 135. She's 150 pounds. She's going to be on the chubby side. No big deal. Just know what you're dating. Most men aren't going to care about that, by the way. They're going to be fine with it. Yeah, so you should put 6 foot tall. Yeah. My wife is 4'11" and I'm 5'10". She thinks I'm tall. If you're under 6 foot, fellas, the cheat code is to find a short girl. Short stack girlfriend. Get yourself a short stack. But 5'10" is not short. That's average height. That's middle of the bell curve. That means half of the people are shorter than 5'10". So you're in the middle of the bell curve. Half of those people are going to be shorter than you. 5'10" is not short. That's right in the middle. I think globally it's even shorter. It's like 5'9". So I remember your reviews of Disney Star Wars back then. Crazy people tried to get you fired from your job. Yeah, it was really weird. It was like the internet opened up to me in a new way. Reinvented military pensions is probably the correct word. The Romans had military pensions and it may go further back. Military pensions caused a lot of conflict, including civil wars in Rome. You can read about that, some of the problems in the 2nd century with like settling Roman soldiers and paying pensions and things. It caused a couple of civil wars, I would think. The Marian reforms from Marius, the Gracchi. There's a great book on this that I read. It's called The Storm Before the Storm. You can check that out. I straight up paid other kids to do my homework. That's what they did back when I was in college. How do you think the basketball players kept their 2.5 grade point average? You had people getting paid to do their essays. Beautiful. Drop the glass. It's okay. It's okay. I spilled a little liquid on one of my books, but hey, you could buy it. It's called Afterglow, Generation Y. Actually, there is a story on dating in here. It's called Swipe Right. I don't think I ever recorded audio for it, though. It's called Swipe Right. Yeah. Swipe Right. There it is. Yeah. It's about like millennials, divorced millennials trying to figure out dating. Kind of fun. 6 foot with the right shoes. Last pass, I didn't think about that. Literally have the lift shoes. Good call out. Yeah. You're 6 foot in the right shoes, the right light. You're 6 foot relative to the right people. Whose feet are you measuring by? I'm 6 of your feet. I'm 6 of my own feet. There you go. Which 6 feet are you? Thank you for the super chat. Yeah. The people expect you to kind of lie on those things. So yeah, girls already adjust. Oh, here's the other one about lying, right? Body count. Okay. I think this was from like American Pie too, which is like, whatever she says, multiply it by 3. And that's her real body count. And whatever he says, divide it by 3. And that's the real amount. Now, men don't usually care about telling women this, but like, yeah, that's what they will. Women want a guy with sexual experience for whatever reason. This is a truism more people need to learn, is that sexual compatibility is made, not found. No one likes to hear that. They like to be like, well, I just have to explore. Some things can't be fixed. Some things can't be fixed, but a lot of things, it's how you figure out how to interact with that person. Yeah. So if she says her body count is 10, it's actually 30. And if he says he's slept with 30 women, chances are he slept with 10 or 5 or maybe 2. Right. So the lies go in different directions. It's just knowledge, right? And so but you're like, I've only ever been with one man. It's like, then you just say 0 or just say 1. You can be honest, but if you've been with 3, you should say 1. And as a woman, you should never mention that you've ever had a one-night stand. Just don't ever say it. Don't ever say what you did. You got to get deeper into the relationship before you guys can be honest with that. So you should not be upfront with that, especially when you meet. And I don't know if you should ever be honest with it, to be honest. I don't know. I can't say that it's ever advantageous to be honest about stuff like that. But you shouldn't have one-night stands. And if you did, you probably shouldn't talk about it until, you feel really secure talking about it. Just caught up to the height part. Stu's a foot taller than me. Am I wrong for not even trying at 5'2" and accepting forever alone status? I just assume I'm filtered for So you got to get physically in. First of all, you got to get great game. So a lot of short guys, I've seen plenty of short guys with amazing women, like models. I would see it all the time in LA. How'd the short guy end up with that hot model? Well, first of all, he has a really good personality. He's really charming. He's really funny. So you just got to work on your personality. And no, that seems crazy. But personality is what it is. Well, no, you just learn to tell good jokes, learn to feel the room, learn how to flirt correctly, learn how to do that, and then make a lot of money. And the height's not going to be an issue. And then when you meet women, you're not gonna pull anyone with online dating at 5'2". You're just gonna get filtered out. So what you should do instead is try to meet women live and in person. And the thing is you can probably just again, it's a numbers game. Just talk to a lot of women. You're going to find women who don't care that you're short. They think you're funny, and then they just are like, well, he's a little short, but he's really funny. And then they'll go out with you. I wouldn't give up. Hell no. Danny DeVito is 4'8" or something. I married a guy close to my 5'4" height. Gain muscle. It'll help. Also, short women are good. Yeah. Just find a short girl and really talk her up and be super charming. She'll like you. Dude, I knew dudes who were actual midgets who got women. So no, height's not going to be the end of it. I knew a dude who had pseudochondroplasia and always had a girlfriend, and the girlfriend was always taller than him. So he was like 4'8" or something. You know? It's cool. He had pseudochondroplasia. It's like achondroplasia is like the dwarfism that's like even shorter. You know, he wasn't like mega dwarf, but he was a dwarf, and he had no problem always having a girlfriend. Now, part of that might be he's able to adjust his standards to get what he can get, and he knew how to play the game. That's probably part of it, you know. But I've seen all kinds of short guys pull models. You just have to have a really good personality, be good looking otherwise, and then have money, and that helps. You just have to be a better package. So if you're 5'2", you're broke, you're fat, you're ugly, you're like Danny DeVito but without an acting career, it's going to be hard. But if you're 5'2" and you're fit, you have a good career, you're really funny and you're smart, and you can know how to talk a girl up, you got good game, it's not going to be a big hindrance. But you have to meet women in person, in my opinion. Now, keep everything I say, keep it with a grain of salt. I'm old. I'm not in this game. I'm just observing, and I'm talking about what wiser people have known, what I've known when I was younger, and like the feedback I get from young people like you. That's just what I'm talking about. So take everything with a grain of salt. This is not like gospel. I'm not trying to black pill anyone. I'm not trying to red pill anyone. Well, I guess I'm trying to red pill people. I'm just trying to give like, hey, if no one was honest with you that like you really need to look good as a man, you really need to look good as a man. Now it's like way more critical, I think, than any other time. But it mattered. It mattered 15 years ago. I know it mattered because I figured out that it mattered for me. You know, I've been the rocker with like the leather jacket, and yeah, you'll pull certain women that way. But if I would have been smart, then I would have just been a normal looking guy that happened to play in a heavy metal band. I would have just looked normal, and it would have been easier because the girls who were into metal would have still liked me. And the girls who aren't into metal also would have liked me. You know. So last I checked, all men's parts more or less compatible with all women's parts. The thing is, there's certain things you can't fix there, and I don't have any advice for if you can't fix, like if it's an anatomical like problem, you know what I mean? You can't fix that. But people have been figuring this out for thousands of years. You know, you're not going to discover new things about the basic reproductive act that we hadn't figured out many ages ago. A don't ask, don't tell policy on body count works best. Yeah, you got to figure out like what, I mean, it matters to men because they're trying to judge the likelihood that person's going to be high fidelity. So this is, I really want to talk about filters, but like a big thing that women don't understand about what do men value in a woman? They're told that men value attractiveness, but that's just filter one. When you get deeper, the most important thing is loyalty. It's so important that if it's not there, you don't have a relationship at all. Men will, if you are disloyal even a little bit, men will question the entire relationship and probably break up with you. And I'm not even just talking about infidelity or something like that. So the body count matters to men because they're trying to judge whether that woman's going to have a fidelity issue or not. How likely is it if she's the kind of person who jumps into bed with someone really easily, then she'll jump into bed with someone who isn't me really easily. She's going to be subject to a lot more temptation. That's the judgment. Women are going to think that way too, by the way. If he's a man who doesn't, he doesn't really have loyalty to past partners, he's not going to have loyalty to me. It's going to be an issue. But for men, like loyalty, if you go back to the ancients, like it was so critical, women weren't allowed to leave the house in ancient Greece because they could get pregnant from another man, which would not only like be a horrible humiliation, it could actually make the gods stop favoring you in your house. The relationship to your household gods is with your blood. And if a woman got pregnant by the wrong man, it could like destroy the house. It could make the gods angry at you. That's what they believed, you know. Tom Cruise is kind of the poster boy for short men that are in high demand among women. Yeah, Tom Cruise looks great, hyper successful, not very tall. Who else is not tall that's been released? But like actors, I feel like actors automatically, you can't really count on them because they are hyper successful. So the hyper successful stuff, when you're super successful, all the other stuff matters less. But for normal people, you have to get through that first filter, which is attractiveness. You know. I'm old-fashioned enough to hear the compatibility and think, did they accidentally end up in a relationship with the wrong gender? The parts will fit, yeah. And as far as enjoying the act, like that's something that you have to work on with an individual. Like I know that's not going to sell Cosmo magazines. Cosmo wants you to read their article on like the best way to perform some sex act. I'm sorry, but like that's just not what creates sexual satisfaction in men. If there's any women that are wondering like, how do I keep a man satisfied? It's mostly quantity. It's mostly availability. It's not like special skills. So Cosmo wants you to think that there's some special way to do it. No, it's just regular. That's what's going to matter more, a lot more to men than anything else that you're going to do. You know, if you start looking into like, why did he cheat? It's like, it usually ends up being like they had a dead bedroom. In other words, she wasn't sexually available. And then so he broke down and started doing stuff outside the marriage. You know what I mean? Or possibly vice versa. It's much rarer the opposite, but usually for women, it's like an emotional affair. Like they're not emotionally gratified, and so they stop being attracted to their husband, and then they start looking outside, you know. I value virtue in a woman: loyalty, compassion, nurturing with children. So if you don't have loyalty, the others don't matter. If you don't have loyalty, the others don't matter. Loyalty is the first and most important one. After loyalty comes anything else. You know, if you have a disloyal woman that is like nurturing with children, then she's still worthless because she's disloyal. They aren't even your kids. You know, how do you care about how she treats other people's kids? You know what I mean? So like loyalty is really critical to men. Women need to understand that. It's like, it's the most important thing. Women, it's important too. I'm not going to say it's they value it in the same way men do, but women value it as well. Loyalty is really important. What's the point of having a marriage if you're not loyal to that marriage? You know. Unemployed due to health and socially introverted, 37-year-old Peter Pan. I'm a healthy weight at least. I lifted better looking than DeVito, but yeah, I'm not optimistic. Well, fix that. What can you fix? Your health. You can do your best to fix as much about your health as you can. You know. Introverted, that's a choice. I know you feel like your natural inclination is to be introverted. I know it's mine. But introversion or extroversion and how you interact with people is a choice. If you feel like it's uncomfortable for you to come up with words to say on the spot, just use a script. Use a script to talk to whoever. Men, women, doesn't matter. Use a script. No, I'm going to talk about these topics. Treat yourself like you're an autistic child learning how to have social skills. Maybe you are, but like, you know, it's helpful to think about these things. Oh, people like this. People like that. You know, let's figure out what their interests are. Let's ask about their interests. Let's ask about their profession. Let's ask them about this. Now, I'll share this thing that's interesting. I know that I'll listen. If he likes this, then I know what kind of interesting thing to share. You figure that out. You can, being introverted or extroverted, you have a large degree of control over it. Scott Adams has a book called Reframe Your Brain that has a lot of stuff that might be helpful to you. So check out that book. Speaking on loyalty, what are your views on pre-selection? For example, like a woman who goes after a married man. I think that that's wrong. I wouldn't recommend anyone do that. Here's why. So if you're a woman going after a married man, people have talked about this. Like women are attracted to married men because someone else has chosen him. So they've already pre-selected that mate, that's a high quality mate. So I'm going to poach him, mate poaching. You're never going to feel secure in that relationship because you poached him, which means he can be poached. And if he can be poached, you're going to feel a little bit more insecure about that relationship because you're going to worry, is someone else going to poach him for me? You're not going to feel secure in that relationship. You know? Husband says the most important thing is the desire to be there. Yes. For men, regular matters and enthusiasm. Yes. One of the things that helped my introversion was just learning to make small talk with strangers. Yeah, it's big. You can, like I said, just use a script. If you need to get over that hurdle, use a script and then it becomes easy. right? I wouldn't expect you to just be able to play a Beethoven sonata after hearing it or having heard Beethoven sonatas. Use the sheet music, okay? It's okay. Not conversation doesn't just come willy-nilly to people. And you'll find that the people who are really good, people who have the gift of gab, if you're around them a lot, you realize they run the same thing over and over again because they know it works. They know like, oh, this joke kills. I'm going to do this joke, right? Or they know, hey, they'll tend to use the same conversations tactics to new people because it works. It gets people to open up, gets them to feel comfortable, gets them to like you, and then you can start, getting to know that person a little bit deeper. Speaking of Peter Pan syndrome, I've noticed a lot of friends I used to play in bands with or from the local scene really suffer from this badly. Yes, for sure. Musicians. I'm a musician. There's so much to say, though. Why do musicians get afflicted with this so much? Well, because for a very long period of time, if you're in a band, you're not really making money. It's not a job. It's a passion. And it's a passion project. It's a game. And so the tendency is, and it takes up a lot of time and effort to do that, to think that you can win the lottery on that. Musicians tend to really care about their passion projects, like all artists. And so they tend to leave other things at the wayside. Having a regular job. They're not thinking of like being secure. They're thinking of, I have to achieve this. I have to achieve this. They're obsessed. If they're good, they're obsessed. And if they're obsessed enough, they can probably be successful. But I think a lot of people have the Peter Pan syndrome before they start doing the band thing. The band thing makes them feel like it's kind of a surrogate activity for something maybe deeper that they're maybe avoiding. Not that it's bad to have artistic endeavors, but like it helps them avoid doing the hard work that's necessary to maybe even be a professional musician. Because I've made money playing music. I know what it takes, and it takes a focus on what the audience wants, what the market wants, and being able to deliver that. And there's certain things I don't want to do in music. Like I don't want to be in a cover band. Like a top 40 cover band is the way that you make money. And like a lot of the guys who played in bands in Vegas, like on the Strip, they were in bands that played cover tunes. They didn't play any original music. They weren't artists in the same way that like Kurt Cobain was, whatever ideal you have. So they just, but they got paid to do it because it was playing things that people wanted to hear. That professional mindset is really different from an amateur mindset. Where you're just kind of trying to experiment and hoping that like your thing will be good enough to somehow make money, get a record deal. They're playing the lottery. They're playing a really shitty lottery. And I don't know. I'm not sure why they never seem to grow out of it. But also you're around bars all the time if you're out gigging. So that means like you're around alcohol a lot, you're around partying a lot, and it's really easy to get kind of arrested development from never having that secure routine or just always being around temptation. I can see that. Have you messed with AI music much? No, I don't really have an interest in it. Everything I've heard from Suno is like, wow, that's cool that the computer made that. Now, I made computer music 20 some odd years ago using like Max MSP and stuff like that, where I programmed a computer to generate new music. So I was actually on the bleeding edge of this 20 years ago, though no one remembers what I did because no one gave a shit because it sounded like shit. I might have a recording of a piece I did somewhere where like I fed George W. Bush's inauguration speech into this program, and then it used it. It had a little, I'll call it, it wasn't exactly an algorithm, but it used the sequence of letters for each of those lines to generate notes. And then there was like a random element. So it would generate all these pitches, and then it would operate my pedal board. So as time went on, it would turn things on and off. So it was a really complicated piece that probably sounded like crap, but it was part of my experimental phase. It sounds like shit because it's like, it's not really intended to sound good, and it's not really communicating anything. It's just there to be an experimental piece. So when I hear Suno stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, this sounds really good for like what a computer would do, but it's nothing I have never heard a piece that I thought I would just listen to that came out of Suno, other than maybe like some joke music, like, funny parody songs or funny songs where like, it's like making fun of country or something like that. It's like, here's this AI country song that went #1. I'm like, I think country is garbage. So like, I'm not surprised, but it's also, I've never heard anything from AI that I would ever actually care to listen to. I have a little more advanced taste than AI country music, or I've heard a lot of AI lo-fi. The YouTube got just really saturated. I think it destroyed the lo-fi genre. I think lo-fi is dead because AI killed it. Because you can just make infinity of these little boring lo-fi tracks. But I remember I had a playlist on, and I was like, this sounds bad. It sounds really boring and just not, something's missing. And I was like, oh, it's AI. Oh, it makes sense, because it doesn't sound horrible, but it just sounds boring. So I haven't heard any AI music that I would ever just want to listen to. So that makes it sound like there's no reason for me to really use AI. And in fact, what I do is the opposite. So let me link my channel. Did I link my channel? The music that you hear is from my music channel. It's all performed live. I do it live. So the whole point is like, to do the opposite. It's all live now, right? What we need to do, our proper response to AI is not, well, how do I use AI to cheat people into thinking that I actually perform music? How do I fool people? That's always the line with AI bros, is like, you can't tell the difference between AI and the real thing. It's like, so the point is to fucking deceive people. All right, you're a fucking liar. That's all you are. The whole point, like, and I'm going to sell you a course on how to prompt your way to an AI book. You're just a fucking liar. You're just selling people the idea that they can lie their way into money. If you lie to people, you could get money out of them. Well, great. I could lie to them with other scams too. You're just a fucking scammer at that point. If you're just saying, here's a book that I generated with an AI, you'd be like, oh, okay. Well, I don't really feel like reading that because you're not going to express anything to me. So, but maybe someone else might find it entertaining. How many people would buy that book if it said very clearly on the cover, AI? Would it be fewer? The answer is yes, it's fewer. It's why you hide that fact. It's why you hide the fact that you didn't write it, because people they instinctively are like, this isn't an artistic product anymore. Unless it's something really silly. Like when the AI tried to write a Harry Potter book and it came out really funny. Like, it's just a funny thing. But it's not like a thing that you read for enjoyment on its own. It doesn't have merit. So if that's how I feel about it. What we should do is instead respond with jazz. Everything should be jazz. We need jazz writing. I've done jazz writing. You see me, I wrote several books live. Let me link a book that I wrote live. It actually has an AI cover, which is fun to think about. Sorcerer's Blood. I wrote this book live, and I showed everybody live how to publish it. And you can read it too. I'm going to publish the one that I wrote live this year, probably for spring. I'll have a crowdfund for that book. So that one's coming down the line. It's coming down the line. Okay. It's coming down the line. Yeah. What's the difference between a Peter Pan phase musician and one who has moved on that's still being a musician? I don't know. Probably like being correctly goal-oriented is what I would say. Once I figured out, it's why I don't play with other musicians really anymore, is that nobody was really goal-oriented in the way I was. I was in like one or two bands that were heavily goal-oriented, and they were great experiences. And it ruined me for everything else. People are like, hey, let's hang out and jam and see what happens. No. What are we doing? Where is it going? Where's our arrival point? How are we getting there? How are we going to pay for it? How are we going to make money? Oh, I didn't think of that. I just thought we would hang out and like cool art would come out of it. That's fine when you're 18, 19, 20, and that's an amazing and a wonderful phase to be in. But when you get to be an adult, you start caring about, I I have limited time this week and on this earth, and I need to spend it having things move towards a goal. Actually, I cover this in the book, Keys to Prolific Creativity. Let me link this book. I'll just give you a link for it, okay? So I cover it in the creativity book. You need to be goal oriented, like how to be goal and how to align goals and processes correctly. That's really the key here. So there's the book. Buy that book, okay? Buy that book. So yeah, I'd say the difference is I have a goal. So if you want to support me on Patreon, please do. I'm telling you, my current focus right now is on a major solo guitar work to be performed live. It's actually going to be on archtop guitar, not classical for this one, because I really want to have a whole feeling of like you need to move away from the idea of the Spanish guitar is where we arrived at for what classical guitar is and should be and should sound like and be performed. And I'm going to be playing on my archtop. Okay, so that's the goal there. And I could probably do a little demo. I'm almost out of time. To like demo some of that song. Grab my acoustic and demo it, and I think my acoustic's in drop C. It'll sound cool in drop C, actually. So yeah, that's the difference. You got to be goal oriented. You're moving towards your goal, and then it's not work, but it's fun. You're still having fun, but you're achieving your goals, which is the big thing. And you don't have to be like super successful as long as you're getting towards that goal and really doing something that you think is worthwhile for putting out in the world. You can upload your own work in progress tracks and have it cover it. Pretty interesting how it could fill in gaps and help you if you get creatively stuck on a track. Yeah, I don't usually get creatively stuck on anything that I'm interested in hearing like what a machine would do. But it's maybe that's a cool tool for some people. Might be a fun idea. Like, oh, what would this sound like with an orchestra track in the back? And you can get like maybe a quick demo of that. There's ideas there, but it's just like I could see there's certain kinds of AI tools in music I would use. Like if I could have a really good sounding orchestra, not write the notes for me, but like play the notes that I wrote, that would be good. It's really hard to find good orchestra patches. You know what I mean? Would you be interested in reviewing the movie Fanboys 2008? I watched it recently. It's highly relevant to the topics you talk about. I think I saw it, but I don't remember it. I think I watched it. I think me and Matt watched it like a long time ago, but I just don't remember it. It's a comedy, right? I think it's a comedy. Suno is fun sometimes for me to play with as a non-musician. Great for shit posts. And it also seeing if I can actually write lyrics that sound good. Yeah. Max MSP isn't AI, fortunately. You built the score and the server executed it like a musician. You still intentionally placed parameters for a desired result. Yes. But I had random elements in it. I did have aleatoric elements in it, which kept it fun. I wouldn't say I liked the output as far as like liking it, but I liked it in a postmodern sense. Like the context of it was really fun. It was fun context. Rick Beato made a video about the AI country song that supposedly went to #1. It turns out that it was only #1 in digital sales, which isn't anywhere close to #1 on the real country music charts. All right, good to know. But to me, I'm not surprised that a AI country song could do well because country music is really repetitive and boring. It all sounds really similar. It has very similar presentations, very similar sounds, very similar chord sets, chord progressions, ways that you play. It's very narrow in its expressive potential. That's why I don't really like to listen to it. I made myself listen to country for like a week or two years ago because I'm like, I've just ignored country. I need to know what's up with country. Mainstream country is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like the really hip shit you might hear in Nashville. I'm talking about the mainstream stuff that you hear on the radio. It actually drove me crazy after a while because it's clear channel, so you hear the same 5 songs every hour. After I heard this song about a woman having breast cancer, and it was just like, I think I'm done with country for a while, guys. I don't think I could deal with this. We're not shredding Telecaster licks up here. It's every song sounds the same. It's about the same shit. It's just really boring for me. Have you heard of the Traveling Wilburys? Yes. It's a band made up of Bob Dylan, George Harrison, Jeff Lynne, Roy Orbison, and Tom Petty. They released 2 albums. Yes. I've listened to the Traveling Wilburys. They're pretty good. Black and White Night by Roy Orbison is another cool album to listen to. It's got Bruce Springsteen on it. A bunch of people. AI is a toy. I think it could be, I think you could use it as a tool, but I think most people they're not looking to use it to as a tool or as a way to fill things in or save labor. What they're always using it to do is to just replace intent, replace thought, replace creativity for generative AI. That's what people are looking to do. I think AI can be a great tool for crunching data, for figuring stuff out, for getting a quick gist of what's going on. I think there's lots of uses for large language models. But for the creative stuff, it's always used to just avoid doing creative work. You know, we saw that with the George R. R. Martin debacle. The artist used AI to just avoid painting. He didn't use AI to like color it. He didn't use AI to like fill in the background. He just shat some AI prompts out came some images. He turned them in and got paid. I presume, I suspect. He allegedly did this. I allege that he did this. I don't know for sure, but it looked exactly like everything that you would get out of an AI. It didn't look like a human made it at all. Fanboys is a comedy, but also has a serious side. It's about a group of nerds going on a road trip in 1998 to break into Skywalker Ranch to their friend to see Phantom Menace before he dies. Okay, yes, I saw this movie. I just don't really remember it. I like old country like Waylon Jennings. The new stuff is all Bud Lights and Daisy Dukes. Yeah. Did you ever see that viral YouTube video called 6 Country Mashups? It proves your point on country music. Yes, I did. I saw this. I shared this with my friend Daryl, who's a drummer. And I was like, yes, this is really funny. It's like, and I saw one that wasn't even 6. It was like way more than that. It was like every song where they say pickup. And it was like pick up, pick up, pick up, pick up. Let me maybe I have it in my messages. I'll find it real quick, and I'll tell you where to find it. Daryl. Come on, I know I made a song entirely from 50 country artists singing Cold Beer. Let me find this real quick, okay? Yeah, okay, let's see. Let's see if I can, hold on, give me a second here. I don't want to get like a copyright claim, so I'll just link the video. Should be in my history now. Nope. Let's see. There it is. Okay. I'll come and grab that and share it into the chat. There we go. I played with trying to set up an LLM to be my lore master for my writing projects. What I learned is that LLMs are really dumb unless you baby them, which takes a lot of work. So yeah, I saw something on X the other day. This guy is like, I spent these 4 hours using this crazy method to get this AI to write 4,000 words of my thesis. And I saw that. I'm like, yeah, 4,000 words sounds like a lot when you're a fucking idiot. 4,000 words is not a lot of words, especially if you're supposed to have a mastery of your subject. Thus, you're getting a master's degree and writing a thesis. Okay. You should be able to write 4,000 words on your own about the subject. You shouldn't need an AI to write it for you. 4,000 words is 4 hours of work. So you spent the same amount of work to just avoid writing it, and it's going to be full of AI speak, and you're just a fake cheater. You could have just written the words. It's not that many words. 4,000 words only sounds like a lot when you're really lazy and you're really stupid. Yeah. Or you got the link. It's really funny. Cold beer. I hate country, but when I was in Nashville for a work trip recently, I was blown away by every band I saw. That Nashville stuff is good, but you don't hear it on the radio. Those teletones were screaming in those drop tunings. Yeah. I got my Telecaster's in a drop tuning right now. That chicken picking stuff. There's still some good country, but it's mostly obscure. Some songs from the rockabilly band, the Millwinders, are good. Yeah. I like that older stuff too. It's just, I'm talking about like mainstream country. It's just so leveled, you know. I vibe coded an entire web app for work using LLMs. It took 2 months. It is a ton of work. Very unsatisfying too. No ownership over the code. And it was extremely buggy. Most of the work was putting the entire code back into it and telling the chatbot to fix it. That was a funny tweet by you. Yeah. Like, it's the AI Dunning-Kruger effect. It's like when you're stupid and you can't write on a subject, 4,000 words seems like a lot. I routinely wrote 10,000 word papers in one night and got A+ on them. How did I do that? Oh, because I knew what I was writing about. I put in the work to research it so I knew the thing so that I could get a certification. And if you don't know the subject, you don't deserve a certification in it. You don't deserve a master's degree if you don't know what the hell your thesis is about. This is why you actually need oral questions for stuff like that. Okay, tell me about this. And you're like, can I check my phone? Oh, no, you can't ask the AI what to think. You have to tell me about this right now. And they just freeze up and you're like, F, you don't pass. Get out of here. You know? But yeah, 4,000 words is not that much. And that's not even close to what a really thorough master's level thesis should be. It should be a lot higher word count, frankly, and be a lot deeper than something that technically, like an LLM shouldn't be able to write a thesis, or certainly not a dissertation, because you should be doing something new. You should be producing new arguments or new work somehow, not just rehashing what other people said, which is how an LLM would come up with those things, is that they're going to take their data set and they're going to figure out what's likely. And, you know, hopefully you're like pushing, if you're pushing into new knowledge, how are you going to articulate something that doesn't exist in the data set? I don't know. I don't think you can. Maybe you can, maybe you can fake your way. But the whole point is you're faking it. You're just faking it. You're just pretending to do it. Just do it. Like most of the people are spend so much time pretending to do a thing. They could have just done the thing. And then they're not able to properly judge the output because they don't have enough experience in general, right? They're not, if you think that the LLM is going to put out an acceptable thesis, you may not know enough about your subject to really judge that paper. You may not be a high enough level academic to know what academic writing is really supposed to be. So that's possible there too. But yeah, my main point is like 4,000 words is not a lot. You could have just written 4,000 words in that amount of time. Could have just written it. It does help you get started in something extremely quickly, which can feel empowering, but it holds you back because you don't learn fundamentals. Yeah, I think we're going to get off into the bushes talking about, off into the weeds talking about different uses for LLMs. I think there are some. I think what most people are excited to use them for is to avoid learning how to do a thing. And then by avoiding learning how to do the thing, they're unable to judge those outputs. That's the AI Dunning-Kruger effect. So they don't know how to do the thing comes out, they think it looks good, but people who are artists, for instance, know why it looks bad. And the person who doesn't have any experience, like they're incapable of seeing it. They're on the wrong side of that. All right, last comment from George. There's a film in 1981, Bonavac Strahinja, Serb folk hero village was attacked Ottomans. Pasha kidnapped his bride. She succumbed to him, but Orthodox law still condemned her. Mentions infidelity. That's interesting. That's an interesting thought too. Yeah. I wonder what the aftermath for that. I can think of a lot of stories that might deal with that as far as aftermath goes. Anyway, that's it. I think I've linked everything. Make sure you subscribe to the Substack. I write this week's article was on EZOT. It took a little longer to get it out because it was Thanksgiving and I wanted to do other stuff. Subscribe to the music channel and watch me play music live. Oh, Chrome just locked up. Hold on. Here we go. Watch me play music live. I'll do some more this week, and I'm working on a major guitar work, so we'll get some music going right here. Here I am, in fact. Where are we? Boom. Here you go. Me playing a song on my porch. Smooth 60 frames per second. I like recording in 60 FPS. Okay, there you go. It's me actually performing live. So check that out. And Patreon. And once I get these demos, I wanted to do the demos over the Thanksgiving break, but it didn't happen. I think I'm going to record a demo with a click track, which I don't want to do for a classical piece, but it'll help me get the ideas out there quickly so patrons can actually see kind of what's in store for a more final version of some of these pieces that I'm working on, or well, some of these movements I'm working on. So have a great one. I'll see you all next time. Have a great day.